Hello and welcome to this month's tip. Today I thought I would talk a little bit about sensitivity and being a highly sensitive person and where that stems from and how to work with it a little more effectively in children. I myself am incredibly sensitive, as is one of my little boys. And I actually work with a lot of very, very sensitive people. And in our Western society, I really believe that sensitivity is undervalued because folks who are sensitive tend to express a little bit more emotion, or they feel things a little more deeply. And I see this being made wrong quite often, but my theory is that we live in a world that where many people are very, very defended and they're uncomfortable with that kind of vulnerability. But there's such a huge gift in this if those of us who are sensitive can learn to work with it effectively. And I do really believe that the world does need more sensitive folks and more empathic folks as well. So what I recently learned, and this was incredibly helpful when it came to parenting my older son Jake, who is an incredibly sensitive little guy, is that uh, something can happen during birth or during the prenatal period where a part of the brain that's called the reticular activating system either gets damaged or it doesn't get turned on. And the reticular activating system, if you just think of it as the part of the brain that helps us to focus, so its job is like a filter. And we are bombarded with millions of bits of sensory data every second, the light, sound, everything going on around us, way more than what the average brain can handle. Excuse me. What happens when that part of the brain gets damaged is that it is not able to filter out all of the unnecessary noise, the data coming at us, so that we can focus and attend to whatever it is that we need to focus on, whether it's listening to someone speak or reading something on a page. I find that my dysfunction in terms of this goes up when I'm in a crowded, noisy space and there's a lot going on. Um, I feel like I want to escape and that I just can't think clearly and that I can't settle down. Now, the thing about this is that a lot of folks with this get labeled as ADHD and incorrectly diagnosed. It's not an accurate diagnosis. This particular type of focus difficulty cannot be helped with medication. The only way that we can work more effectively with this is through our own process of growing up and maturing and developing tempered thoughts and feelings and learning how to control our emotions and our thoughts and whatnot. So it takes time. And for those of us who are sensitive, often growing up and that maturing process, or that process of development rather, takes longer. So where most kids will be making a big shift around 5 to 7 years of age in terms of their temperance, a sensitive child may take an extra couple of years. And I certainly see this in my son Jake. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with him, and it doesn't mean that there was anything wrong with me either. However, growing up this way was very, very difficult. Sensitive folks feel everything very, very deeply. Um, we feel the world's pain in some cases. I know that my son, he'll feel for the dog. He'll feel for objects and animals and creatures very, very randomly, and it doesn't make sense to other people, but I know what's going on for him. He tastes, his taste buds, his palate is more sensitive. He tastes things. He smells things that I don't smell, and he is incredibly in touch with his emotions. My job is really to keep his heart soft so he doesn't lose this gift, because as he grows older, this will be one of his greatest assets. But for those of us who are sensitive, it takes we get wounded much, much more easily. So there is a potential to become defended more easily and more quickly, because we feel things so deeply. The defenses go up as a way of survival. This is how we survive. And so I often ask myself if, many of the bullies I've met in my life were once highly sensitive people that defended very, very quickly because it was just overwhelming and too much. What you will notice with sensitive kids is that they generally have an above average intelligence, They have an excellent memory. My son can remember things from when he was a baby. I have an excellent memory as well. They're highly intuitive, but they do get easily, or we get easily distracted. And there is a difference between being easily distracted and looking for distraction. It's we want to focus, but it's just the sense that that filter is not working and things get overwhelming for us. So if you're that type of person, or if you have a child that's like that, I want you to know that there's absolutely nothing wrong, that this can be corrected through development and growing up, and really it's just a matter of biding time, and what children like this need is this unconditional love, and they need to be able to come to a place of rest within the attachment to the parent, so that the brain can rest, because all growth comes from a place of rest. And often when we go to school, or sensitive kids go to school, they don't have that rest. It's the stimulation is overwhelming, and it's very difficult to learn and develop. So I'm always collecting my son when he gets home from school, trying to create that place of rest, so that I see this emergent play, and I see this sort of venturing forth energy in him, where he's able to be curious and learn. And that's a wonderful thing. But if I was looking at him as if he was ADHD or Asperger's or something like that, or there was something wrong with him, that would create more anxiety for him, because it would be a form of psychological separation. And that is incredibly alarming, incredibly frustrating for all of us, when we feel that we're losing contact and closeness with the ones that are most important to us and the ones that we love. So just dropping the agenda around learning sometimes, or dropping the agenda around development, and just providing a loving attachment within which the child can rest. And if you're a grown-up who is like this, it's a matter of being able to normalize it for yourself, and knowing that, sensitivity is a beautiful thing. Being in touch with our feelings is a beautiful thing, and that we feel things that others don't, perhaps. And they affect us more deeply, and not to shame ourselves for that, but to know that this is a gift, and it's a matter of harnessing our thoughts and our energy, and finding where we can apply those gifts in the world in a good way. So I hope you've enjoyed this tip, and have a great month.